Please state your child's name
Mm-hmm.
and type of cancer and your story in a nutshell.
Okay. My child's name is Gali. Now she's 6 years old. When she was diagnosed, she was 2 years and 4 months old. She was diagnosed with MedulloBlastoma, stage 3. She had a brain tumor in her brain, small brain. And then we also realized that she had some tumors around the back of her, around the back, on the spinal cord. We diagnosed it through the fact that one of her eyes went inside, what is called strabismus, and then we went to the doctor, eye doctor, who have seen immediately that she has fluid in her brain, and on the same day we went to the hospital. On the same day we did MRI to the brain, and 2 days later she was operated and they took out the entire tumor from her brain. But since she also had some tumors in the spinal cord, of course this was not enough, and also we had to do something to make sure it will not come back. So we started chemotherapy and a long process of treatment, which lasted about 1 year, the entire treatment. The treatment started in Israel. We were treated in the Schneider Hospital for Children in Israel. We had the treatment that started with chemotherapy because she was too young to get radiation, although in this type of tumor radiation is considered to be more appropriate or more successful, but we had to keep the time to make sure the radiation will not hurt her too much, will not cause too much damage because of her young age. So we went through a protocol of the COG group, the Children's Oncology group. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a protocol that included chemotherapy, high-dose chemotherapy, and thereafter the bone marrow transplant in 3 small sections. It's called 3 mini bone marrow transplants, and the whole process was about 8 months.
That was all in Israel?
All in Israel, in
Okay.
the Schneider Hospital, because we talked with a lot of doctors before we started, and we understood that chemotherapy is something that you can do everywhere, actually, because it's like a recipe of how to do a cake, and you don't have to be a specialist. It's just that you give the medicine and hope that it works. It's not something special.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked with all the doctors abroad, at least 3 doctors, and they all confirmed this is a good protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So we gave okay to do this protocol.
After the 8 months in Israel?
After the 8 months in Israel, we actually did. I have to say something about the protocol also. We used one drug that is not part of the protocol, which is methotrexate. It's a very strong medicine, which the doctors in Israel recommended to use, although it's not in the protocol. It is in the protocol of Head Start in the United States, but not in the COG protocol. But because of her tumors on the spinal cord, we had to take one step further with the chemotherapy, and we also needed to take some time to take time until we get to radiation, because she was too young, and they all say 3 years old is the minimum age to start radiation. So we finished in Israel. We actually finished the bone marrow transplantation when she was 3 years old, exactly. And then we did another MRI to see what's the result. And luckily the brain was still clean. However, in the spinal cord, the tumors remained. They shrank a little bit, and they were like spots around the spinal cord, but they were not. They did not disappear, unfortunately. And you cannot operate on the spinal cord. It's in many places. So we were in the time. At the time, we had to choose our way, what to do now. And I want to just go back first to the operation to say that the operation to take out the tumor was also in Israel. It was done by Professor Dr. Michovich. I don't remember the first name, which is a great person. He did a great job. We thank him today also because Gali came out from the operation after 8 hours with no neurologic damage at all, which is practically a miracle. When you had to take it out from the brain, it's very dangerous. And the heal to get healed from the operation also took us about a month before we started chemotherapy. So we have to go back now to the process. So at that point we had to choose what we are going to do. And the doctors in Israel, they recommended to go straight to radiation. And because there were still spots on the spinal cord, they said, okay, you have no other choice but to give the full dose radiation. She is 3 years. It's okay. It's not the best, but that's what you have. Now we were in touch with several doctors in the United States and Canada. I will state their name, and we had the impression that it is not that easy or that easy decision to make. So I decided to go and meet with all the doctors. The first doctor that I went to meet with, which was a doctor that followed us the entire process, it's Professor Jonathan Finley from CHLA, Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. He is a great person and a great doctor. He is the person that invented actually the Head Start protocol of MedulloBlastoma and of brain tumors in infants. I would say his goal in his life is to find the cure for children for brain tumors without radiation, and he's doing all that he can to make this possible. I went to see him. I went alone without Gali, with all the information that I had, with MRIs and everything, and with a summary of the entire situation. Before how we approached all the doctors, it was actually a process. In some hospitals, we had to send the entire information beforehand. Some were less formal. Some we had to go through international department. Some we could get directly to the doctor. It's very different. With Jonathan Finley, it was all very informal. So I went to see him, and he gave me the impression that although he is really against radiation, in Gali's case we have no other chance but to give her radiation. However, we have to make all efforts to do it the lowest dose that we can. And then I went to see other doctors. One in the Children's Sick Hospital in Toronto. I have to remember his name, but he's the head of pediatric brain tumors there. And then I went to see Roger Packer in Washington Hospital for children. And then I went to see in Boston one doctor. we gathered all the information from all the doctors, and then we created like a plan. So the plan was to go to Los Angeles to make the radiation. The reason that we went to Los Angeles and did not do the radiation here in Israel was two. One reason was the fact that we got the impression that they do not have a lot of experience in radiation in such small children. It has to be really precise, on the millimeter, because the spinal cord is so thin and the brain in such little children is so small that it really is important to have it so precise, with the highest experienced physicians and people with information and knowledge on physics to make it really precise. That was the first reason. And the second reason was the fact that we didn't feel that they will cooperate with us in Israel to make it the lowest dose. They were not in the same opinion with us to keep it the lowest dose. They are not familiar with this. They know only high dose or nothing, and they did not believe in the low dose. So we went to Los Angeles. We did the radiation there. It was indeed the lowest dose possible. It was 1800 for the spinal cord and the brain, and 2300 for the bed of the tumor, CYG they call it. So it was really the lowest dose possible. And what Professor Finley did is that towards the end of this lowest dose, he performed an MRI to see if there is any reaction to the radiation, and he has seen that in a very short time there was a good response, and the spots even more reduced. So he said, we can stop here, and we stopped. I have to say that during the radiation he also gave Gali some medications, Temodal and Vorinostat. No, I don't think it was Temodal, only Vorinostat he gave her, which is some kind of biological medicine. And then what we did is we had to complete, I would say, since the dose was very low, the doctors did not believe it would be enough. So what we did is we had to complete it through an alternative way. So we went to Sloan Kettering Memorial Hospital, MSKCC, in New York. Over there is a doctor, his name is Dr. Ira Duncan. He is the head of the pediatric brain tumor department. And we applied to join a clinical trial, phase 2, of iodine mononuclear injection. It is a special clinical trial that is performed in several kids, not only with brain tumor, also with neuroblastoma and other central nervous system tumors. And but we had to be accepted. We had to go through some process to make sure that Gali can get the treatment. And luckily, she was accepted to the treatment, and we've done it. It's a 5 injection treatment of injections directly to the brain with radiation, which is directly to the tumor, meaning the radiation goes inside the brain, the fluid of the brain. The fluid in the brain goes through the spinal cord. It's in a circle. So what they did is they injected the radiation material, which is attached to the blood or other material from white rats, and which is known to attach to tumors. And then the radiation was directly on the tumors, if there were any. They did not if there is still, but if there were any, they had to attach directly to it and then put the radiation directly on them. So this way you avoid the long, I would say the long-term difficulties that you would expect from getting radiation in high dose, because this is not on the entire brain and the entire spinal cord. We did this process. We finished it. It was the entire round from Los Angeles to New York took us about 6 months, and then we went back to Israel, and we continued to take oral medications for 1 year of 3 kind of medications. Temodal, which is a chemotherapy. The Temodal we took only 6 months because she couldn't take it anymore. Her immune system couldn't take more chemotherapy. And the 2 other medications, the Vorinostat, and the third one is the Roacutan, we took for a whole year. That's it. The entire treatment after the 1 year of medications ended 2 years ago. We are still under a very severe follow-up. We do MRI every 3 months, even less, every 12 weeks. We have MRI. We have hearing test, eye test, endocrine test. We make a lot of follow-ups, and we hope that it is over, but there is no guarantee, never. So we continue to pray that it is over indeed. We see some long-term effects of the entire treatment. By the way, the MRI we continue to send every 3 months to Professor Jonathan Finley in CHLA, and to the doctor that had the radiation to her, Dr. Kenneth Wong, over there. They are both amazing. They continue to review the MRIs and to compare it to the previous MRIs every 3 months for us. And together with the Schneider team, they always wait to hear the results also. The Schneider team, they review it in a group of doctors also every 3 months. They compare it. They don't give us an answer for a whole week. It's very difficult to wait for an answer, but at least I know that many doctors look at the MRI, because there are still some spots on the spinal cord. They have to make sure they not grow, because as long as there are spots, they are very small spots, but as long as there are spots, as long as they are small and doesn't make any progress, it means, or at least they hope it means, that it's nothing, only scar tissue or some vessels that remained from the entire treatment. And as long as it takes time, that and it's still there, it means that this is it. If suddenly it grows, God forbid, and I hope it will never grow, then it means it's something else. So the fact that it is already 3 years or 2 years from the oral medication, it is a good sign, but also there is never guarantee. And also, I also forgot to mention one point. After we did the MRI, when we finished the chemotherapy, after we did the MRI and saw that there are still spots in the spinal cord, before we started the radiation, also there were doctors that say it may be scar tissues and not the tumor itself. So we did a biopsy here in Israel to see what it is. And then we understood it is the tumor. There were doctors that said not to do the biopsy because they say you cannot take biopsy from each and every spot. And if, for example, you take from one spot which is a scar tissue, but on the other spot it is the tumor, so you missed it. But we decided to do the biopsy from the main place of the spot, and indeed it showed that it is a tumor. So there was also an argument on this. I have to say a general statement. I would say that we heard a lot of opinions throughout the process from all the doctors, and we had to, as the parents, we had to see what we believe is the right way. We didn't know if it is the right way. The doctors were in disagreement on the issues, so we had to make some tough decisions throughout the process. We had some peer group of our closest family, and I have a cousin which is a scientist, and she helped me, and my father and my brother, and we took I think 5-6 people that follow up with us on the entire process. Also, what I did also when I went to see all the doctors, it were 5 doctors in 5 days. I summarized every meeting with them, and I wrote everything they told me, and then I sent the entire summary both to the peer group of the family and friends and to the doctors in Israel, and to the other doctors. So I had everybody in line. Everybody knew what everybody said, and then when everybody had the entire information, it was easier to make a decision. We didn't know if it is the right decision, but at least I knew everybody knows what I know. So I think it really helped. And also I did not forget what they told me. I wrote down everything.
I think the point that you were the connector between everyone is maybe one of the most important things a parent can do. Because in many times doctors are not communicating between each other.
Yeah.
And parents can stay inactive and passive.
Yes.
Do whatever the doctor says,
Yeah.
but active parents, proactive parents, they take steps. And one of the things is to make sure all the doctors communicate, document everything.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I have to tell you, for the first 8 months when we were here in chemotherapy, we were not very active, meaning that we were active by the fact that we looked that they give her the right medicine and the right dose of the medicine, and we were with her all the time, but we were not active in the parts because it was a protocol. You had to go through a protocol. Before the protocol started, we made sure it is the right protocol, but that's it. But what my recommendation to parents dealing with situations like ours is to get prepared. Meaning, if you decide to go through the protocol of the chemotherapy, it's good. You made a decision, do it. Don't look around, do the protocol. But and hope for the best. Hope that when the protocol finishes, that's it. You can go home and be healthy and forget about it. But if something goes wrong, and then you have to make a decision fast, you don't have the time. So during the time that you do the protocol, make all the preparations that you can. Find out who are the doctors, the right doctor to consult with. Read the information about the disease and the treatments. Sign up for newsletters of associations that are related. Be prepared for the worst. Hope that you don't need to use it, but at least for the moment that you need to be active, and I highly recommend to be active, because even you have the best doctor in Israel, and there are good doctors in Israel, they don't have the time to learn on your child's disease as much as you have the time, or you have the patient, or you have the passion to do it because it is your child. So I think it's our duty to do it for our child, to learn. So sometimes you don't have capability to do it, because either your English is not good enough, or you mentally it's difficult for you. So you can ask for somebody else from your family to do it for you, because you have to be detached when you do it. When I went to speak with the doctors, I said to myself, I speak about a child. I cannot think about my child, because sometimes you hear difficult things. Because when you go to speak with them and you look in their eyes, they say everything. So you have to be prepared. I remember that one time when I went to see the doctor there, I was so shocked that I was late to the plane, the next airplane, because I was shocked. It is not easy. It's not an easy process. So if you can do it alone, you can ask for some. My brother, for example, he joined me to some of the meetings over there. You can bring some of your family. You can ask somebody else to do it that you trust. But you have to do it, because otherwise you will not have the entire picture of everything. Okay.
Could not say it better.
Thank you.
So that would be basically your suggestion
Yes.
to other parents who are now starting the process, right? Be active, proactive, get on top of things, learn, study to be able to communicate with doctors.
Yes.
And to get involved, basically.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Get involved. I don't say that you have to be. I would say like nag the doctor in Israel, or ask them to spend more time on your case. They don't have the time. They will not do it. They would love to hear whatever you bring from other doctors. From my experience, we are working now, or we are being followed by Dr. Helen Toledano in the Schneider Hospital, and in Israel. She's great, and the entire process, she always told me that she learns a lot from the process, that she filed every information that we sent her from the United States. She wants to learn through our process, and then she uses the information to other kids. And if she has something to say, she says. If not, not. But she will. Even she's a great doctor, she cannot make the same process. She has dozens of other kids to take care of them. She cannot give the entire focus on one child. You have to remember it as much as she wants. So we are lucky that we can do it, because we have at least we have the time to do it. And if we don't have the other capabilities to do it, then we can use somebody else. But it's something that also, I think cancer, it's an illness that is so complicated, and it's so different from one to the other, that everyone has to learn his or her own cancer, because it is impossible to have one information for so many kinds of cancers.
Each type of cancer is actually a different disease.
Video.
Different,
Exactly.
with different treatment and everything. Different doctors you need to talk to. So pediatric cancer is not one disease. It's many, and you need to learn and get all the possible information about your specific type of cancer and subtype sometimes.
Yes.
And this is exactly the...
And also the age of the child, because
Correct.
treating MedulloBlastoma for a 6-year-old child is different than treating a 2.5-year-old child. Because if Gali was 6 when she was diagnosed, then she would start immediately radiation.
So, I would like to take you back to the diagnosis part.
Okay.
Okay? We know that it's very challenging sometimes to diagnose cancer in children, because you're not connecting the dots. Please take us through the first signs. You mentioned something with the eyes, and and through the diagnosis process,
Okay.
how long did it take? How do you diagnose medulloblastoma and all that stuff?
I would say there were signs that we could see and signs that we couldn't see. Only when we looked
In
back.
in
retrospective.
Yeah.
The signs that we could see were two really strong signs. One was the eye that went inside. In like 1 second she was good with her eyes, and the other second when I looked at her, I realized that one eye goes inside.
Which could be for many reasons.
Yeah, it could be pneumonia. No,
It doesn't
have to be this. And the other one was the fact that she was a little bit falling a little bit. We first thought it was a problem with the leg, that something is wrong with her leg.
She was 2 years and 4 months. So she was walking
and falling.
Okay.
She was walking okay. She was walking since she was 11 months, and suddenly she started to fall. So we thought something is wrong with the leg. Mm-hmm. It was for like 1 week that she was falling. And then after 1 week that she was falling, I said, okay, I'll take her to the doctor and to see if something is wrong with the leg. And then we saw the eye. So I said, oh, maybe she falls because she doesn't see very well. And then I went to the eye doctor immediately, and we find everything on the first day. So this was very fast.
So how did the eye doctor identify the pressure in the brain and the tumor?
First of all, he did what is
Dilation.
called dilation. Okay, it's when you enlarge the
Pupils.
black size. Yes. So he did it. She did it actually. And she saw that inside the brain there is pressure. So when there is pressure, it means something is wrong. She couldn't say what. She said it's either a brain tumor or something else. But I think she knew that most probably that she has brain tumor.
So it's not ocular pressure inside the eye; it's pressure in the brain.
In the brain, you can see
So the
through
eye doctor, the eye doctor saw pressure in the brain.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And it's very important that in a case like this that you insist on doing the dilation because only that way you can see, and it takes about 30 minutes. You have to wait there until it enlarges. So these were the signs that we could make the dots and that brought us to do something.
So the same that she told you there is a pressure in the brain, you need to immediately check this out.
Immediately.
And you went from there where?
To the hospital.
Which?
To Schneider.
Schneider Hospital?
Yeah. We decided to go there because I have a friend that works there, and also my parents' friends work there.
Okay.
So we went there, and they checked her through with a neurologist who also said that she believes that it is a brain tumor. And this was in the morning, and about 6 hours later, 6 hours in the evening, they did the MRI, and they immediately told us it is a brain tumor. And they also said it's a malignant brain tumor. 2 days later, they operated. And also we had to decide if we stay there to the operation or go to another doctor, because also there is other doctors in Israel that operate, Dr. Konstantini from Ichilov, and
I think it's professor.
Professor, yes.
So, within a few hours, you took her, because she was falling, you took her to the eye doctor, and at the same day, you get the news that you have brain tumor, which needs to be operated immediately. You already know it's cancer.
Yes.
You don't know which type of cancer.
Yeah.
And I guess the doctors told you it's very urgent to make the surgery.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And now you as a parent, you start to ask questions, okay, where am I going to do it? Who's the best doctor, etc.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about this, because it's a brain tumor and it's so critical.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about this dilemma and how did you make the decision?
For us, it was not a very difficult decision because we understand the urgency, we understood it, and we said that for us it's very important to make sure she gets operated and go through the surgery immediately. We understood the urgency. We didn't think about taking her abroad for two reasons. First, you're too shocked. Second, we saw parents over there that were already with their kid abroad. They just were there, and they told us the operation was not good in the United States and they had to come back, and that Dr. Michovich did a much better job for the kid. And we didn't have time. We had to move fast. And we thought about the process after that, because you have to go through the operation and the surgery, and then you have to go to the oncology department. So we asked, and we've been said the following. I don't know if it's true, but this is what they told us, or at least my friend that is a doctor over there in Schneider. She said that in Ichilov there is a very good surgeon, Professor Constantini, but that the oncology department is not the high, brilliant department. It's not like international. And that in Tel HaShomer, the oncology department is very good. However, there is no surgeon which is in such a good experience like Dr. Michovich. And in Schneider, we understood that Dr. Michovich is great and the Department of Oncology is very good. So we said it's better to stay in a place when you have both that you need and to be there. This was actually what we considered, and this is why we decided to do it there. But I have to go back to the signs that we couldn't see.
Which you know today.
Which I know today. There were two signs that we actually could have seen before. I don't know if we could have seen, but at least in retrospective. One was the fact that Gali, she was a very active girl. She went on all the parks and all the playgrounds and everything. And when she was 2 months, like I think it was 1 month before we diagnosed her, she stopped going on the playgrounds. I thought it's because, age of 2, you start to get scared and everything, but it's not it was not the reason. And the other one was that there were like 2 or 3 days that she vomited in the morning. I thought it was because she was still drinking the formula, and I stopped giving her the formula, and then she stopped vomiting in the morning. But it is also a very scary sign that when you vomit in the morning, it means that, but since she vomited only 2 or 3 times, it was not something that scared us.
What's the difference between vomiting in the morning and vomiting in any other time in the day?
Vomiting in the morning is one of the signs or the symptoms of brain tumor, also in child and in an adult. When you feel sick in the morning and vomit, it is a very bad sign. So I didn't know that, of course.
Really?
So after that, when I read about it, I understood that when I stopped giving her the formula, of course she didn't vomit in the morning. So I didn't have the chance to see it. It was about, I think it was 2 weeks before we diagnosed. So I would say that in Gali's case, the signs were not for a long period, because brain tumor is very strong and very aggressive. And when it grows fast, I guess. And you can see the signs only when it is big. So then you see the signs, they are clear.
So how do you diagnose?
And also one other sign was also that the head was a little bit like this.
Tilted,
yes.
So what are the ways to diagnose medulloblastoma? It's a blood test, it's an MRI, it's a CT, it's biopsy.
It's only MRI. Only MRI.
So MRI will show you the tumor.
Yes.
But does it mean necessarily it's medulloblastoma?
No, then you have to make a biopsy of the tumor. You can do it either through a biopsy, that you take some part of the tumor, or after the surgery,
The resection.
the resection.
So the only way to diagnose, so you can see there is a tumor in the brain, but you won't know it's medulloblastoma until you actually get the biopsy.
Yes, and it's not common to do a biopsy to a brain tumor. It's usually...
Because of the complication of a brain surgery.
Yes.
So how would you diagnose medulloblastoma if it's not accessible?
Usually medulloblastoma is accessible because it is located in the fourth room of the small brain.
Yeah.
And
Which
it's
is the
it's
medulla.
over here, yeah.
In the lower part.
In the lower part, and it's accessible if it's medulloblastoma. If it's other brain tumors, it's sometimes difficult to get to. By the way, in Gali's case, we had only MRI of the brain before the operation, and only after the surgery there was the spine MRI, which is a mistake. I recommend to do both before the surgery.
So why didn't the doctors know that medulloblastoma goes to the spine? Why didn't they do a full body MRI?
I don't know. I have no answer for that. But they did not do, they did only the head.
But you have 2 days between the diagnosis and the surgery, you mentioned, right?
Yes. It's not, I think it's not in the hospital's protocol here in Israel to do it. In the States, I'm sure it is. They only after they diagnose it as medulloblastoma, and they know medulloblastoma can spread to the spine,
Then they check.
only then they checked. If it was like a ependymoma or something else, which they know that it doesn't spread, they would not do it.
So maybe they wanted to first identify the type of cancer before they do extra
Tests. I think it's not a very smart thing to do.
Do you think if they had the full MRI, would it affect in any way the decision to make the surgery in the brain?
No.
So what difference does it make?
Only one difference. I would love to know if it's something that was before the surgery or after. Because sometimes, as you said, sometimes in the operation, some things spread along the spinal cord, and sometimes it is there already. So now I don't know. I don't know if it was there before the surgery or only after.
In many cases, also in ours, there is a challenge between the decision to make things fast and to make all the tests possible.
Yes.
And in many cases, during the surgery, stuff happens, and you don't know what's the reason for it, or you cannot be sure.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I would like, let's talk a bit about the brain surgery. Brain surgery is very complicated. You've decided to make it in Schneider with Dr. Michovich, which tell us a bit about the doctor and the surgery, how it went, the risks, and the end result of just the surgery.
Okay. We met Dr. Michovich. He came to meet with us in the middle of the night, actually, because we did the MRI at 6, and they told us, and we were really scared. So he came at about 10 p.m. to meet with us and to explain to us. He was very calm, I have to say. This is what he does every day, brain surgeries. And he was very optimistic. He said that he believes he can take it out entirely. He was certain that it is a cancer, malignant cancer. And he also said it's either medulloblastoma or ependymoma. Before he did the surgery, he said he knew it. He was very knowledgeable about everything. And then we had to get prepared. She had to be without food for 6 hours, everything for anesthesia. And then the operation is very difficult. It went through for 8 hours. She was in the operation, in the surgery for 8 hours. And from what I know, from what he told us, that he had to scrap it from the stem of the brain because it was attached to it. And he had to do it really, really gently because not to hurt anything. And this is the main risk in such an operation, that something will get wrong later. And also it was difficult for her to start walking after that. When she went out from the surgery, the brain was still with a lot of fluid, and they had to take out the fluid, and then she couldn't stand it, so she took it out. She was very small, and then she got sick with meningitis, and then they had to take her inside again to clean everything and to close it again. And it was about 1 month that she had to get back to herself to learn to walk, because she was really imbalanced. This is the place of the brain that you have the balance of your body. So she was really imbalanced after the operation. The eyes, by the way, the eye that went inside, only I think 1 year after the surgery, it went back to be the same that is today. She couldn't say a word. And before that, she said a few words. She was never really verbal. But also after the abortion, she couldn't say, at least for 1 month, she couldn't speak. It's a shock.
Yeah. There was a regression in all her development.
Everything was a regression. You have to be patient. I know about kids, her situation, that it took them for 6 months to go back to walk, or they couldn't speak, or they couldn't move. I think for Gali, she was fast in recovering, but it takes a lot of time, and you have to be patient.
You finished the surgery, the brain surgery. You had 1 month to recover.
Yes.
And then you started chemo in Schneider in Israel. 8
Yes.
months. Tell us about the protocol, what was different, the drug, and how did it go for you?
Okay, so the protocol was the COG protocol, Children's Oncology Group for infants with MedulloBlastoma. Infants meaning kids below 3 years old.
The protocol in Israel is similar to the one in Europe and in the U.S.A.
The protocol in Israel is similar to the one in the east coast of the United States, where they do the COG protocol. In the west coast, they do the Head Start protocol. And in Europe, I think they do the COG also. I'm not sure about it. The Head Start and the COG protocols are very similar. The only difference is the methotrexate. So it's a medicine that is more severe, and it can cause learning problems in the future and stuff like that. And what we did is actually in Israel, we did the COG protocol, but then we added the methotrexate because we didn't see a lot of progress in the spots on the spinal cord throughout the process.
So it's a decision that was made during
the protocol.
The protocol, okay.
Yes.
And then after 8 months?
I have to say that first of all, the chemotherapy was about 5 months, and then we had the mini transplant, which was about 2 months.
Brain?
Or 3 months. It's not brain, it's a stem cell transplant. They took.
Why?
Because it was a very high dose chemotherapy, but they used their own blood, or own stem cells.
So they harvest stem
Yes.
cell before the chemo.
Yes.
They gave her high dose chemo.
Yes.
The stem cells were dead.
Yes.
And then she needed a transplant,
Yes.
a self-transplant.
Yes, but it was mini. It was like 3 mini, not one very large like you do with leukemia. We had to go to the transplant for 3 times, each time for a week.
Okay.
So it was not like a whole month inside the room and everything.
So you had the baseline scans from before you started chemo, between the surgery and the chemo, and now after 8 months you saw improvement?
We've done some MRIs also during the protocol. So during the MRIs we've seen progress, but very small. And then after the transplant we couldn't see any change from before the transplant and after. The spots were the same size, they did not shrink. So actually, indeed, probably the mini transplant did not help, but it did not grow also. So after that, there was like, it was stable. but we didn't know if it's the scar tissue or something else, or the tumor itself, and then we did the biopsy.
So, okay, but before that, there was a decision not to use radiation.
Right.
Because in Israel, I also remember, in Israel, under the age of 3, they tend not to radiate. Even though in the U.S., in the East Coast...
It's not so true. Also in the U.S., when I went to speak with the doctors, everybody told me that the age 3 is not relevant also for radiation, and not the age 4 even. If we give Gali full dose radiation that is effective to this brain tumor, at the age of 4 even, she will never be able to have her own independent in her life when she grows.
You talk about radiation to the brain?
To the brain and spinal cord.
Oh, as well, both?
As well, both.
Okay.
These two are not recommended below the age of 4, not 3.
Okay.
And we decided that we don't want to do it for her.
Okay. So, but after the chemo,
yes,
you had all these. You flew to the West Coast, to the East Coast. You consulted, and then the decision was still to make a very low dose of radiation, even though she was less than 4.
Yes. Because we had no other choice. And actually, since Professor Finley was the one that told me this, I understood this is the only choice, because he's the person against radiation in infants. This is his goal in his life. So he said to me, if I tell you to do radiation, meaning that there is no other choice, you have to do it. Mm-hmm. And I will make sure it will be the lowest dose. But if you don't do it to her, it will not end good.
So then you made to do the radiation there?
Yes.
With him?
Yes, with him and with Dr. Kenneth Wang, who is the head of the radiation oncology department there.
How many cycles of radiation?
It was for, I think it was 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks?
Every day. Except for Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's all under anesthesia, so every day she had to be under anesthesia in the morning, and they did it.
Now, because radiation can be also done in Israel,
yes.
Did the insurance cover your radiation in LA?
They covered it. They covered both radiation and the clinical trial, although insurance do not cover clinical trial.
Yeah. You talk about the clinical trial memorial.
Yes. For 2 reasons. I mean, I don't know. Also, not only the insurance, also Maccabi. They split.
The HMO.
Yeah, HMO, they covered 50-50.
So insurance, you're talking about the private insurance?
Yeah.
Because I was referring to the HMO.
Ah, okay. So no, we had the private insurance and we had the HMO. And they did not want to pay, of course, for nothing. Not the radiation and not the clinical trial. But we told them, and I really believe in it, that in the case of Gali's tumor, there is no one solution that is successful. Nothing. So if you do the protocol, the percentage of healness, of cureness are very low. So what's the difference if you do a clinical trial or you do the ordinary protocol? It's the same. You don't know if this works and you don't know if this works. So it's not like an experimental treatment that you don't know what it's going to be. This you don't know and this you don't know. If there were a treatment in Israel, they would tell me, look, do it, and 90% that your daughter will be good, then I would have done it. But no, it's not the case. So I did not have any other solution. So when you say an experiment is not included, it means when you have a treatment that works. Here, we don't have even a treatment that we know that works.
The protocol, what's the success rate of the protocol?
It depends on the age of the child and the situation, if
But
it's
in this
disseminated or not. In this case, not
the protocol
very high.
did not work, yeah.
Yeah, not very
Okay.
high. And also, in the case of the radiation, we also explained the situation in Israel, that they don't have a lot of experience and they do not believe in the low dose radiation. And also, and I truly believe that Professor Finley was a way for us to get to the clinical trial, because he was previously the head of the brain tumor department in MSKCC. So we had to go, the next stage of the treatment of Gali after chemotherapy was to go to the United States. That was it. And eventually they agreed with us.
Okay, so that was the radiation in the West Coast, and then
Yes.
you went to New York to Memorial,
Yes.
and you got this clinical trial. Does it have a
Yes.
name, the clinical trial?
I think it's called 3F8 clinical trial with iodine, mononuclear something.
Which the idea is, if you would explain to a 6-year-old, would be that there are cells that they know to take radioactive cells to the tumor cells.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
And here we also have a small story that to get the treatment, you have to put in the brain a small device. It is called Omaya. And through the Omaya, it's like a portacat, but in the brain. Through the Omaya, they inject the material, the medicine. And when we went there...
And the idea is that it go to the fluid,
Yes.
to the brain fluid, which goes to the spine as well.
Yes, yes. And one of the tests that the child has to go is that the fluid goes through, because sometimes it doesn't fluid through the brain to the spine. So they had to make sure through tests that they did for her that it goes through, that it's flowing, exactly. So here we had to put the Omaya. It's also a brain surgery. And when we were there in the United States and in New York, they told us you can put the Omaya here, or you can go back to Israel to put the Omaya, because it was very costly. It had to pay. We had to pay for it for $50,000.
$50,000 for the Omaya
surgery, which we didn't know if we would get accepted to the trial. And we said, okay, so our solution with the insurance company was, okay, we will go back to Israel, we will do the surgery here because Dr. Michovich said he can do it, and then we will go back to the operation, to the treatment in New York. So we came back to Israel, we did operation, we put Omaya. He knew how to put it, but it was not the best device, and where he put it was not exactly where it should be put. I didn't know it when he put it, but what happened is that we went back to the States, and again Gali got sick with meningitis, and they had to take out the device they put in Israel, that we came back to put it, and they put us a new one there. Only when they put the new one, I understood how much they don't know in Israel what is Omaya and where it has to be put. It was put in a very delicate place. Now, she has it until today. We didn't take it out. Most parents don't take it out because it's another brain surgery. And it's there, and it's in a very delicate place. You don't see it under the hair. And so this is a lesson, because we didn't have to go back and do it in Israel. We should have stayed there and do it there, because
there was the cost issue.
The cost issue.
You had no choice.
We had no choice. We could have paid it. We could have said it's going to be, at the end we had to pay it because they still did the surgery there.
So yeah, but so the insurance did not pay
No, it was together with the meningitis, and she had to be hospitalized for 2 weeks there. It went through above the
ceiling
of the insurance. What we did then is we approached the Medicaid in the United States, and I had to work a lot to get this approval, and I think I worked on it for a year to give them all of our information on our bank accounts and salaries and whatever you want for the last 5 years. It took me a lot of time to get everything for them. All the receipts, all the visas, everything, all the bank accounts, everything in English. And at the end, they approved us. It was $100,000 that they approved us not to pay.
The local insurance.
Yes, the Medicaid. So my experience here, that when you have to do something that is not familiar in Israel, like the Omaya, they don't use it here. They don't know what it is. Don't do it. Only do what the doctor is highly experienced with.
Yeah. So, and this is of course true not only for Israel, for any country.
Yes.
Or for any doctor or
Yes.
hospital where they don't have the same experience, because as we know, especially in pediatric cancer, experience makes all the difference.
The whole difference, yeah.
So you mentioned side effects
Yes.
and long-term
Yes.
implications.
So for chemotherapy, it's especially you have to pay attention for the short-term risks of the hygiene and the right dose and the right medicine.
Because of the low counts.
Yes, it's very important to pay attention for everything. This is the chemotherapy, everybody knows it. For the radiation, the risks are different. There are the long-term risks. It also hurts the bone marrow, by the way, but less than chemotherapy. And when you make radiation, or when you make the radiation on the brain and the spine, then there are two major risks. One is of damage to the brain. It hurts the IQ in the way that it's a progressive damage, meaning that every year from the radiation, the IQ is decreased a little bit. So if you do the high dose at the age of 3, then the IQ can be decreased by, I would say, 20 to 30 points. If you do it less, then it's less. So it hurts the IQ, and when you do radiation on the spinal cord, it can change the body. The spinal cord, the spine will be shorter than it should have been, and also it hurts the height that you can grow. So these are the risks. There is not much to do about it.
So the side effects for the radiation to the brain would be the brain development.
Yes.
And IQ.
Yes.
And functionality maybe.
Yes.
And the side effects for the radiation for the spine would be development of the spine, of the skeleton, the spine.
Yeah, it can be shorter, the spine itself, and it can hurt the entire growth.
And maybe imbalanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are the risks. There's not much to do about it, just to have to know. Mm-hmm. And what you can do, and this is what we did for Gali for the past years, is you can give a lot of help in cognitive issues, speech therapy, occupational therapy, art therapy. Any therapy that you can think about is very helpful, because when you put the brain to work, it can grow back cells that were hurt during the treatment.
So you're trying constantly to stimulate Gali's brain?
Yes.
Like it's like a muscle, right?
Yes.
If you train it, it will be able to develop.
Yes.
And today, how old is she?
She's 6. She just started first grade. She's not as kids at her age, cognitively. she's not very back.
She's not very regressed, but she's not in the top of her class. But
and
she
will never be in the top of her class, I guess, because also she has emotional problems. It's not easy. Also because one other effect of the radiation, I did not mention it, that she doesn't have a lot of hair. Because of it changes, but for her, also because she has scars and she had radiation, she has short hair, and it's very not a lot of hair. So
and also it's very thin.
Very thin, yes. So she looks a little bit different, and she's small. So she looks a little bit different. So she has some emotional problems, also from this, and also from all that she was going through.
Yeah.
She still remembers, and she still has follow-ups, and she's not an ordinary girl, and she knows it. So it's difficult for her to accept everything, and also studies are difficult for her, and she needs to put a lot of effort to study, and it's not an easy process, but we see a lot of progress as much as we put some more time in it, and we bring good people to help her, and also her grandmother helps her, and everybody around her. You have to put a lot of support to a kid like this, for emotionally and for cognitive progress. It's not that you say, okay, the ill is gone, she is now healthy, that's it. If you want to make her able to have her own life when she grows, then we have to give her all the equipment to do it, and this is through the help, constant help. Not too much, but when she's ready. I mean, for the first 2 years, when she was in kindergarten, we did not put any pressure on her. We just let her be very happy, smiling kid. And she's happy, she's very friendly, kids love her, which is highly, highly, highly important, even more than the cognitive issues. But to get prepared to join school, and we had some thoughts, maybe we should postpone school in 1 year. We decided eventually not to postpone, because her own wish is to be like a normal girl and to stay with her own age friends. So we said it's better to give her more confidence, to go to school, to be with her friends, and although she will be not the smartest kid in the class, that's fine, we don't have to be.
If you could go back 3 years,
Yes.
4 years, which advice would you give to Natalie a week after the day she was diagnosed?
I think the fact that you have to be proactive. This is what I really give my advice to any parent that called me.
This is to any parent, but my question is to you.
To myself?
Yeah.
Oh. It's a good question. I don't know. I'd say to believe all the time. It's possible.
Of course it's possible.
Yes. I don't know what to say. It's difficult because it's very difficult to look back.
Yeah, it's difficult places.
Yes. So I don't know. I don't have the good answer for that.
Okay. It is a good answer.